Hello, everyone. This recording is for FST 3021 term paper. This paper is about psychological approach to arson prevention, and we have Mr. Mark Ober, retired fire chief. Hello, Mr. Ober.
How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing good. Would you like to do a little bit more of an introduction about yourself?
Oh, okay. Yeah, my name is Mark Ober. I retired in 2018 from the fire service. I was in for almost 42 years. First 6 months was volunteer, the rest was career. I was a paramedic till a year ago, fire instructor. I'm still current. I instruct ICS still for state of Ohio, and so I had a pretty good ride on a department with 4 stations. They're currently making about 6,000 calls a year. 4 stations, 65 career, and so that's a little bit about myself. Obviously, for 10 years I taught at the University of Cincinnati, and now I'm listed as a mentor and do not mind helping out. So that's why we're here.
Thank you for your help today. So I'd like to jump right to the questions. First, what did your department do to prevent arson? What were the efforts that they did while you were active?
Well, usually we tried public education, but it normally came or regularly came back to if there was an arson fire, then we put up yard signs in front of the structure that said this was a possible arson fire. The state of Ohio got behind it. There was a phone number. If you want to leave a message, you know anything about this, we would educate kind of after we had one. We didn't necessarily have a great deal of them, although we had some over my years, but I can't say that it was like to the academic epidemic, I should say, portion, which that means a lot of them. But so we would do the education if they were continuing to grow. And what I mean by grow is if we had one in the neighborhood and then we had another one in the neighborhood, and that happened a few times where uh, there was a possibility of that, then we would do education uh, to the public.
You. There wasn't really much of a efforts to prevent one just like before the arson happened, only like after it happened, it like tries to prevent it anymore by giving a public education, huh?
Correct.
Thank you.
There, we talk about it that quote, arson's bad. We shouldn't have arson fires. People can get injured. Firefighters can get injured, die. It causes a lot of property damage. It's really unsafe.
I see.
But for the most part, it was just after it occurred. We didn't do a lot of upfront public education.
Yes, all right. So I was researching about arson and the psychology behind it, and I found out that most arson is connected with like their mental problem. Research that I found from Australian Institute of Criminology, which cites information collected by FBI, says 90% of people have mental health histories. Do you think we can rely on this data to like find and monitor people with mental illness with destructive behavior to prevent arson?
Boy, that's a good question. If it really depends on, excuse me, how much of the data is really out there and how relevant it is. Um, because it seems like the correlation, I don't know if you could narrow that down. But
Uh,
again, I'm only speculating. I haven't done any research. Normally the arson fires that I knew of, there were let's categorize them from what I can remember. One of them would be where the individual's upset over something that occurred with the person who either lives there or owns the structure. I know that happened in my career. So someone did it as a way, if you want to put it like this, like to get back at somebody or to prove something to somebody that they were upset. The other situation that occurs is a lot to do with insurance. So if I no longer either could afford to pay the insurance or I was in debt and I was trying to get out of it, there have been people that have had arson fires, and then it's the responsibility of in assuming they have insurance, that then the insurance company has to prove that it was arson before they do the payout, which means pay whatever the amount would have been or the structure that was damaged or its contents inside. The other thing that I guess along the third one kind of goes back to the first one a little bit, like domestic. There's been times where family members, whether it's a divorce or something like that, that there's an issue. It's kind of like the first one, but it also it comes down to where somebody's really upset at a spouse or another family member.
I see. Thank you for sharing. So because of this data, I kind of came up with the idea of a program that prevents arson using a psychology, which is kind of similar to community paramedicine program. Are you aware of this program?
Community paramedicine, yes.
Yes. So it's kind of like that. So I was thinking how it would be like if a fire department or other government organization provides a mental health care and monitor to those have a high risk of committing arson. What's your thought about this program?
Um, a tough one. You would probably have to start maybe at young ages in school. As an educational tool, but kind of like here we use commercials or
Yes.
maybe social media. Um, for example, you're supposed to go to the right in the United States for lights and siren when a fire engine passes or an ambulance. Maybe something like that, where to get out in front, maybe educate, because what you would be doing then, the way I look at it, you would be making an attempt to educate, but maybe it doesn't help you with your research, because how do we know that the person we needed to capture the information actually captured it? Does that make sense?
What do you
Like if,
exactly mean by capture?
well, let's say we put a commercial out right now,
Yep.
or we put out a message that hey, arson's bad. You can go to jail for 20 years, hypothetically. It can ruin your life. We go down this whole list of things. If you think you need to do something bad, call 1-800, whatever. Maybe somebody can help you before you make a bad decision. So what we don't know is, let's say all that worked. So I'm this person who sees this commercial. How do you ever know that it worked? Because I didn't set a fire. You know what I mean? We can't put quantitative data on. We didn't have 3 arsons because 3 people watched the commercial or the message and it took care of them. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying it's hard to break that down to where you know that it's working.
I see. Um, I see. Thank you for sharing the opposite concerns that you have. That was actually going to be my next question, and you already answered it. If there was any obstacles that we may have to face. Then I would like to ask, so I guess we should like maybe not use not only using advertisement, maybe we can coordinate cooperate with the local schools to
Okay, sure.
provide this program. So another concern that I have is that the price of providing a mental help. So I was thinking if maybe we can partner with the APA, American Psychiatrists Association. Can you think of other organizations that we can partner for this program?
Cool. That's a good question. Well, I think um, exactly who to say, tough. But if let's just talk about the possibility of where are arsons created the most. Let's just assume in a heavily populated area in a city. I would think that those cities or counties, municipalities, if they would have, and they do, have mental health programs for other things, maybe tying it in with them would be a good idea, if that makes sense.
I see. So the local psychiatrists of areas of a high risk of arson. That is an amazing idea. Thank you. Um, I think that wraps up for all my questions that I have for this program.
Okay.
Do you have maybe any other idea to prevent arson using a psychological approach? Though this is an optional question, you don't have to think too hard about it.
Well, here might be uh, a way to reach out to get to the mental health organizations that have the professional helpers to, let's go back to the city for example.
Yes.
City X is having issues. I would think that if you could get with them, for example, and just say, hey, we have this program. There's been, the fire department says there's been XYZ arson fires in 2022. Would you be interested in possibly working on a program or educating anyone you come in contact with. Because see, we're back to that. We don't really know if we're touching. We could be touching the right people with a message, but we don't know what the outcome is going to be. So you would just then be attempting to do the right thing, and getting it, it's back to, I guess, an educational tool is what I'm trying to say. But I would think getting back to those organizations would be a start, taking the data where the arsons have been, and I guess call it front loading. So what we're trying to do is start over, go back and say, all right, the city, you have arsons. Can we help by putting an educational program together to keep this from happening? Like what are the age groups? How do we address this? Is it back to television commercials? Is it back to social media? Is it in school? Or the elementary kids, children, or that would be a way to, I would think, to consider.
Yeah, that is also an amazing idea. All right. That does actually wrap up for all my questions that I prepared for this interview. Thank you for answering, and I'll stop the recording here.